Kelly Loeffler with us now. She's in the Trump cabinet as the head of the Small Business Administration. Also, David Rutherford going to be with us next hour, and then Steve Hilton running for governor of California. I think you did mention that because you mentioned his fabulous accent. She also is fabulous. Kelly Loeffler, been traveling all over the country as part of Small Business Week. And Kelly, I just want to kind of tee you up here right off the top. How do you see, based on your travels and the data that you have access to, small business is clearly the engine that drives, by and large, the American economy. It is not huge businesses, actually. It's all the dynamic small businesses out there that are so incredibly important. What are you seeing on your travels, and how would you assess the overall economic status of the country right now?
Well, you're absolutely right. Small businesses are not only the backbone, but they're the economic engine of this great nation. It's 99% of all businesses across this country, so it's incredibly humbling to be the cabinet level person advocating within the Trump administration for small business. And there is no stronger champion for small business than President Trump. He always says, Kelly, small business is big business. And I've seen that as I traveled across the country. I was everywhere from Boise, Idaho to Phoenix, Arizona to Nashville this week. But every week I'm out with small businesses, and there's tremendous optimism thanks to President Trump's pro-business, pro-growth agenda to lower taxes, get rid of regulation, get red tape out of the way. And obviously what we do is we provide capital, which is the lifeblood of businesses.
Kelly, thanks for being here with us. There's some that I know in the small business community who are all supportive when it comes to the Trump tariffs, what he's trying to accomplish, and they think it will benefit them long term. But I have heard concerns about short-term supply shock, that could hit in the next few months, for example, because of particularly what's going on with China, right? That's where there's some issue. Are you seeing any reason for concern when it comes to supply shock that could affect a lot of businesses that rely on some of those imports? And if so, what do you think can be done to kind of mitigate that so we can get to the other side where the trade deals are in and things are booming?
Yeah, it's an important question. Look, there's going to be a period of adjustment, and the president's been very clear about that. And as we talk with small businesses, that concern is far outweighed by the opportunities that they see to finally have fair trade. So when you hear the word tariff, think fair trade and restoring what we used to have in this country, which was a reliable supply chain. That obviously got hollowed out. We lost 70,000 manufacturing plants, 5 million jobs. So at the SBA, what we're trying to do is create a connection between supply chains, manufacturers to onshore. We're going to be providing those connections to small businesses so that they can have alternatives to where they're importing from China. If they've built their businesses around Chinese Communist Party manufacturing, we have to make sure we bring that back. But it's already being done in America. Everything from aerospace to socks to microchips and beyond. Like, we're already doing this. The left-wing media narrative is that we can't and we should not do this, but I'm telling you, it's happening, and all it relies on is, continuing to push those tax cuts through, get rid of regulation, and make sure we have a skilled workforce, and we're going to be stronger than ever before.
Kelly, when you look at this bill that is obviously working its way through Congress right now, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill that we expect to see come through sometime around Memorial Day, how important do you believe it is, based on the conversations that you're having, to have some form of tax certainty, given that the tax cuts that Trump initially put into place in 2017 are set to expire? How important is it for businesses to know what to expect in that arena?
Well, I think it's incredibly important, Clay, because I think this economy is spring-loaded for tax cuts. And, I think it's something that's frustrating to me as someone who's spent decades in finance, is when the Fed only looks at tariffs as an issue, we've got so much counter-inflationary good news coming into this economy. Not only is inflation falling, but taxes are going to go down, regulation is going to go down. If we give small businesses the certainty that they will continue to have the 20% deduction, bonus depreciation, accelerated depreciation back to January 20th, I have talked to many manufacturers who are waiting to put in the order for more CNC machines, to buy more land, to grow and build, because they're already getting the orders thanks to President Trump's tariff strategy to bring people to the table and bring manufacturing here. People are saying, we want to reshore. So it's ready to go. We need Congress to act.
What should
Yeah, I was just going to say, sorry, building on that question, I can't believe the number of countries out there that are cutting interest rates like crazy, in particular all over Europe. I don't know that we've ever seen a divide like this. Is there any doubt in your mind, based on what you are seeing, that the Fed should be cutting interest rates?
There's no doubt in my mind. We have 4-year core inflationary lows. It's much lower when they did double cuts last fall, right ahead of the election. And when you have these counter-inflationary trends of lower taxes, less regulation, falling energy prices, unbelievably low. We had a 5 handle on the oil price the other day. The 10-year is already kind of self-regulating itself down. So I feel very confident that we should go into the next rate cut, looking at it. But who knows? I mean, if this has become a political issue, anything could happen.
If things go, and we're speaking to Kelly Loeffler, who runs the Small Business Administration, for anyone joining us, if things go as the Trump team is hoping, and as we've started to see some indicators, for example, the deal with the UK, we're hearing about an India deal, we're hearing about other deals on the horizon. If these trade deals go through, let's say in the next 60 days or so, at least most of them, right? China is probably going to be a longer issue, but what happens for businesses for the rest of the year that is positive? Like, how are the, because right now, I think, as you've said, Trump has made it clear there might be an adjustment period. And if you're relying on supply chain from China, there could be some issues with that. But what is the upside of making this fair trade for? We have a lot of small business owners listening right now, a lot of people who work for small businesses right now. How does this get better for them if the Trump policy and if the Trump deals rather go through?
Yeah, that's a great question. We just saw yesterday the UK trade deal opened up our ag markets to the tune of $5 billion. It's going to bring in about $6 billion in tariff revenue. But what it's also going to do is remove some of the non-tariff barriers that were put into their regulatory apparatus that blocked our ability to ship our products overseas. I talked to one logistics company who said his business used to be half import, half export 10, 15 years ago. Today it's 10% export because of all the trade barriers against our country and that have made us more dependent on bringing in goods. So small businesses, that I'm seeing on the ground, the manufacturers in particular, are gearing up to invest and make things in America that we can then ship overseas, keep for ourselves, and not be reliant on anyone for food, for pharmaceuticals, other critical areas of our trade. So I think, look, small businesses are certainly just critical in this conversation, and I am making sure that they have a seat at the table, because this is it's really the backbone of our country, and we have to make sure that we're well aware of everything going on, and the president is on top of it, and that's why he's pushing fair trade, lower taxes, less regulation, low energy prices. This all benefits small businesses.
Kelly, I hear you were touring the Tennessee Titans football stadium. Hopefully at some point in time they'll actually start winning games when that new stadium opens up. But there is a lot of optimism. Obviously, you've been in Tennessee. Nashville is growing very rapidly. I know you live in Georgia, which has also got a pretty good economy rolling. What'd you think of the stadium and in general, what do you think that's going to mean for downtown Nashville, where for people who are around here, I think we're going to get a Super Bowl, which is going to be pretty cool in a few years for the city of Nashville.
I think it's a tremendous investment that is really powering the economy. Even today, we saw 1,000 workers on site, driven by more than 65 small businesses that are helping build that stadium. And so in addition to the entertainment value and the value it brings to small businesses in terms of creating sustainable businesses around that stadium, it's just going to create this venue that builds a really strong community. And I was with your great governor, Governor Lee, and just looking at, I think the state bird is now the crane, the construction crane, given how many cranes are in the air there. But it was exciting to see, and they're doing a fantastic job. There was a great small business contractor that won the SBA, one of the SBA awards, and he was just talking about the generational change that this economic development is creating for all communities across Tennessee.
What does it look like, Kelly, if we get to a reasonable best case outcome, specifically with the trade tariff issue with China? Like what we know with our other allies, because you've already seen some of it, they go, okay, we need to reassess this. We need to even some things out. That's fine. China is a different ball of wax and a much bigger challenge, I think, than obviously our allies are for clear reasons. What does it look like if Trump gets that where he wants it to be?
Yeah, that's an important question. Those conversations are starting tomorrow, it sounds like. And what we need to make sure is that America's interests are protected in this in ways that they have not been in the past, whether it's intellectual property. What happened is we would send our intellectual property overseas, they'd manufacture it for us, and then they'd put the trade barrier up. So they would have stolen our intellectual property, manufacture it there for their people, and then we lose that market. So we're going to have those protections. We're going to have larger markets if we can have more cooperative, reciprocal trade levels. And then we won't have the non-tariff trade barriers that they set up against us. They've put up kind of false environmental barriers, health barriers, and other things that they don't hold themselves to, but they can erect that against our manufacturers. And so I think restoring our strength by having manufacturing here and pursuing our energy dominance agenda, we start mining in America again, getting the rare earth minerals, and making sure that we protect our economic security and our national security at the same time, because we have seen with the chips situation and others, rare earths, we're way too dependent on China in terms of national security. And I've seen some great chips manufacturers, small businesses in America. This can be done, but we have to really focus in on that as much as we're focusing on what China is doing.
Kelly Loeffler, administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration. Kelly, thanks so much for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you all. Great to be with you.
I'm optimistic. Well, we've been optimistic the whole time, actually, about the economy.
I think this summer, and again, I don't want to go full Jim Cramer here because he tends to be wrong on everything. But I think by the summer, as more and more of these trade deals are rolling out, I think we will be back near an all-time high in where stock prices are.
Yeah.
That's my bet.
Some of our adversaries get a vote as well, and officials from the BRICS nations are meeting in Brazil this July to discuss the U.S. dollar. I mean, these are big countries with big economies: China, Russia, India, South Africa. One of the topics at that meeting is whether they can displace the U.S. dollar as the global currency. They're calling this a Rio reset for a reason. If that were to happen, there's an if in that statement, but you got to be prepared for it. Then global demand for U.S. dollars would dramatically decrease, and that would bring down the value of the dollars in your savings account. This transition is not going to happen overnight, but it's a good idea to prepare for the uncertainties in the future, to hedge for what could happen with these BRICS objectives. Learn if diversifying into gold is smart for you, because I thought it was smart for me. I just did it a few weeks ago. Birch Gold Group can help you figure out what makes sense for your portfolio and to take your hard-earned savings and put some of them, for example, in a tax-sheltered IRA in precious metals. Claim your free info kit on gold by texting my name, Buck, to 989898. A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers. Let Birch Gold arm you with a free, no-obligation info kit on gold before July and the Rio reset, because you could see a run-up in gold then. Text Buck to 989898 today.